The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, buried between spam and work notifications. The subject line read, Emma's graduation family dinner Friday. No greeting, no please or thank you. Just an assumption that I'd drop everything and drive 4 hours to celebrate my niece's high school graduation at a restaurant I'd inevitably pay for. I stared at the message, my coffee growing cold as memories flooded back. Emma calling me last month, voice shaking as she asked if I could help with her college application fees. Not because her parents couldn't afford it, but because they'd spent her college fund on a kitchen renovation they'd shown off on social media for weeks. My phone buzzed. A text from my brother Jake. Bring your credit card Friday. This place is expensive but Emma deserves it. That was it. No, how are you? No acknowledgement that I'd been covering Emma's expenses for months. Just another assumption that I'd open my wallet and smile. I closed my laptop and walked to the window of my downtown office. 23 floors below, people moved through their lives with purpose, boundaries, dignity. When had I forgotten what those looked like? Friday evening I sat in Marcello's Italian watching my family perform their familiar theater. My mother fussed over Emma's hair, my father told the same stories he'd been recycling for years, and Jake scrolled through his phone while his wife Sarah complained about the lack of vegan options. Uncle Marcus always knows the best places, Emma said, beaming at me across the table. She was the only one who'd hugged me when I arrived, the only one who'd asked about my flight. Speaking of knowing things, Jake said, not looking up from his phone, we need to talk about Mom and Dad's mortgage situation. Here it comes, I thought. The real reason for the family dinner. The interest rate is killing them, Sarah chimed in. They're going to lose the house unless someone helps restructure the loan. My mother's eyes filled with tears on cue. We never asked for much, Marcus. Just a little help until your father's consulting business picks up. Dad's consulting business. The one he'd been promising would take off for 3 years while I quietly transferred money each month to keep their lights on. How much? I asked, though I already knew this dance. $80,000 to refinance, Jake said. We figured you could co-sign, maybe help with the down payment. I looked around the table. You all discussed this without me? We didn't want to worry you, my mother said. You work so hard. The waiter appeared with the check. Jake didn't reach for it. Sarah studied her nails. My parents sat in expectant silence. I placed my credit card on the leather folder and looked at Emma. Congratulations on graduation, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. She smiled, but I saw the discomfort in her eyes. She was old enough now to understand the dynamics, to see how every family gathering became a financial negotiation. About the mortgage, my father pressed. Can we count on you? I stood up, pocketing my credit card. I need some air. Outside, the autumn wind cut through my jacket as I walked to my car. I sat in the driver's seat, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. 3 years of transfers stared back at me. Mortgage payments, car repairs, medical bills, credit card debt. Over $200,000 in family support. For what? So Jake could quit his job to pursue photography? So my parents could retire early and travel? So Sarah could stay home and complain about everything? My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Where did you go? We're waiting to discuss the mortgage. I deleted the message and drove home. The next morning I called my financial advisor. I want to move my assets, I said. Set up a trust, restructure everything. And I need the contact information for that law firm you mentioned. The estate planning attorneys. Of course. Is everything all right, Marcus? It's about to be. By Monday I had meetings scheduled. By Wednesday I'd spoken with an accountant who specialized in family financial disputes. By Friday I'd made a decision that would change everything. I spent the weekend researching, printing documents, organizing 3 years of financial records. Every transfer, every payment, every time I'd bailed them out. The numbers were staggering. On Sunday evening I crafted a group text to my family. Family meeting this Tuesday at 7 p.m. My place. Important financial discussion. Please confirm attendance. The responses came quickly. Jake, finally ready to talk about the mortgage? Sarah, can we make it later? I have yoga. My mother, is everything okay, honey? I sent one final message. 7 p.m. Be there. They arrived in good spirits, probably expecting me to announce my willingness to co-sign the mortgage. Jake brought a bottle of wine. Sarah carried a folder of house listings. My parents looked hopeful. "Thanks for coming," I said, leading them to my living room. "Please sit down." On the coffee table I'd placed a thick folder. They eyed it curiously. "I've been thinking about our family's financial situation," I began. "And I've realized I need to make some changes." "Good," Jake said, opening the wine. "The mortgage company needs an answer by Friday." I opened the folder and pulled out a stack of bank statements. In the past 3 years I've transferred $247,000 to various family members. Jake, you received $89,000. Mom and Dad, $134,000. Sarah, $24,000 for your business that never launched. The room went quiet. "Marcus, we're family," my mother said. "We don't keep score." "You're right," I said. "We don't. But I do." I pulled out another document. "This is a promissory note for the full amount. I've had it prepared by an attorney. It includes reasonable interest and a payment schedule." Jake laughed. "You're joking." "I'm not. You have 2 options. Sign this note acknowledging the debt, or I file a formal claim for the money." "You can't be serious," Sarah said. "We're family." "Family doesn't treat each other like an ATM," I replied. "Family doesn't assume someone else will always pay. Family doesn't make decisions about major purchases without including the person who's been supporting them." My father stood up. "This is ridiculous. We raised you, fed you, put you through school." "You did," I agreed. "And I've repaid that debt 10 times over. But I won't continue to subsidize your irresponsibility." "What about the mortgage?" my mother asked, tears starting. "What about it? Jake has a college degree. Sarah has a master's. You both chose to stop working. That's not my problem to solve." "But we'll lose the house," she whispered. "Then sell it. Downsize. Live within your means. Like everyone else." Jake slammed his wine glass down. "You're being cruel." "I'm being honest. For the first time in years." I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. "I've spent 3 years being your safety net. Do you know what that's cost me? Not just the money, but the stress, the guilt, the knowledge that every vacation you took, every dinner you enjoyed, every night you slept peacefully was because I was working 60-hour weeks to support you." "We never asked for that," Sarah said. "You didn't have to ask. You just expected it. And I gave it because I thought that's what family did. But family goes both ways. When was the last time any of you asked how I was doing? When was the last time you offered to help me with anything?" The silence stretched between us. "I'm not cutting you off," I continued. "I'm setting boundaries. The promissory note acknowledges what's already been given. Going forward, if you need help, you ask. You explain why. You show me a plan for how you'll handle it differently next time." "And if we don't sign?" Jake asked. "Then I'll see you in court." They left without signing anything. I didn't expect them to agree immediately. People who've grown comfortable with enabling don't change overnight. But I'd planted the seed. And I'd meant every word. Over the next week I received angry texts, hurt voicemails, and a tearful visit from my mother. Each time I remained calm but firm. The terms wouldn't change. On Thursday Emma called me. "Uncle Marcus? I heard about the family meeting. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. How are you?" "I'm confused. My parents are really upset. They're saying you're trying to destroy the family." I sat down, choosing my words carefully. "Emma, do you remember when you called me about the college application fees?" "Yes. You were so nice about it. Do you know why you called me instead of your parents?" "Boss. Because they didn't have the money?" "They had the money, Emma. They chose to spend it on other things. And they knew I'd take care of it, so they didn't worry about it." "Oh. I love you and I'll always be here for you. But I won't continue to enable your parents' poor decisions. You're 18 now. You're going to college. You're going to see how the real world works. And I want you to learn something your parents never did. Money isn't love and love isn't money." "I think I understand." "Good. Emma, if you ever need help with college expenses, you call me directly. We'll figure it out together." After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. The breakthrough came the following Tuesday. Jake called and asked if he could come over alone. When he arrived, he looked different. Tired maybe, but also more serious than I'd seen him in years. "I want to sign the note," he said without preamble. Why? Because you're right. We've been using you and it's not fair. I've been thinking about it all week and I can't remember the last time I asked how you were doing. Really asked. I poured him a beer and sat across from him. I'm sorry, he continued. I got comfortable. We all did. It was easier to let you handle things than to face our own problems. Jake. No, let me finish. I've been calling about jobs. Real jobs, not just the photography stuff. Sarah's going back to teaching. We can't afford the lifestyle we've been living on your money. He signed the promissory note and looked up at me. I know this doesn't fix everything, but I want to try. I want to be a better brother. For the first time in years, I saw the person Jake used to be. The one who'd defended me in school, who'd taught me to drive, who'd been my friend before he became my financial burden. I'd like that, I said. My parents took longer to come around. They signed the note eventually, but with bitterness and complaints about how I'd changed. They'd moved to a smaller apartment, downsized their lifestyle and stopped speaking to me for several months. But Sarah surprised me. After Jake went back to work, she called one evening. I owe you an apology, she said. I've been thinking about what you said about enabling and I realized I've been doing the same thing with my own kids. Giving them everything without teaching them to work for it. It's a hard balance, I admitted. I want to pay back what I owe you. It'll take time, but I want to do it right. I appreciate that, Sarah. And Marcus, thank you for forcing us to grow up. 6 months later, I received a graduation announcement in the mail. Emma had made Dean's List her first semester. Inside was a handwritten note. Thank you for teaching me that love means wanting the best for someone even when it's hard. I got a part-time job to help with expenses. I'm proud of myself. I smiled, remembering the scared girl who'd called about application fees. She was becoming a woman who understood her own worth. Jake had been promoted at his new job. He'd sent his first payment on the promissory note with a photo of himself in a suit, looking proud. Sarah had started a small tutoring business from home, building something real instead of chasing fantasies. My parents had eventually warmed to their new circumstances. They discovered they enjoyed the simplicity of a smaller space, the freedom from financial stress. My mother had even started volunteering at a local literacy center. But the real change was in me. I'd learned to say no without guilt, to help without enabling, to love without losing myself. On a quiet Sunday evening, I sat in my apartment, reading a book instead of checking my phone for the next family crisis. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full of possibility. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Sunday dinner at our place next week? I'm cooking. No agenda, just family. I smiled and typed back, I'd love that. For the first time in years, I meant it. The real test came a year later when my father called about a business opportunity. An old friend needed investors for a restaurant venture. It's a sure thing, Marcus. Just need $50,000 to get started. I listened to his pitch, heard the familiar excitement in his voice, the assumption that I'd say yes. Dad, have you done market research? Do you have a business plan? Financial projections? Well, no, but... Then no. But Marcus, this could change everything for our family. Our family is fine. We don't need changing. We need stability. There was a long pause. Then quietly, you're right. I'm sorry for asking. Don't be sorry for asking. Be thoughtful about what you're asking for. We talked for another hour. About real things this time. His concerns about aging, his pride in Emma's success, his appreciation for the steadier life he'd built. When we hung up, I realized something had shifted. He'd called me not because he expected me to say yes, but because he valued my opinion. He wanted my thoughts, not just my money. That night, I wrote in my journal, today my father asked me for advice instead of a check. I think we're finally becoming a family. The next morning, I woke up without anxiety for the first time in years. Outside my window, the city hummed with life and possibility. I made coffee, read the news, and planned my day. Simple pleasures. Earned peace. The quiet satisfaction of boundaries held and respect regained. At 8 a.m. my phone rang. Emma's contact photo filled the screen. Uncle Marcus, I got into graduate school. I wanted you to be the first to know. I smiled, looking out at the morning sun painting the buildings gold. Congratulations, sweetheart. Tell me everything. And she did. Not because she needed anything, but because she wanted to share her joy with someone who'd taught her that love and respect were the same thing. The cycle was finally broken. And in its place something better had grown. A family that chose each other not because they had to but because they wanted to. That evening I sat in my favorite chair watching the sun set over the city, and felt something I'd almost forgotten: contentment. Not the temporary relief of crisis averted, but the deep satisfaction of a life lived on my own terms. My phone stayed silent. And for the first time in years that silence felt like victory.